There is a pattern that's quietly killing companies right now, and here is how it plays out. A business has a working infrastructure. It's simple, it's stable, and it ships features fast. But the engineering team starts pushing to rebuild everything on a more complex and impressive tech stack. And the reasons why sound technical, but none of them are actually tied to the business problem. It's we need to be AI native. It's we should be future proofing for scale. Meanwhile, what is really happening is that engineers want those technologies on their resume. They're optimizing for their next job and not for the company that they are at right now. And it's so common in our industry that it actually has a name for it. It's called resume-driven development. And the fallout always looks the same. The cloud bill explodes because hyperscale tools need massive amounts of configuration, testing, and managed services just to keep running. Feature delivery grinds to a halt because a simple code change that used to take 10 minutes now touches multiple systems and breaks a deployment pipeline. And the business ends up paying enormous operational costs for infrastructure built to handle millions of users when they haven't even hit their first 10,000. And I see this pattern everywhere, not just at startups, but across the industry. Engineers are chasing complexity because it feels senior. More tools, more moving parts, more boxes on the diagram, because that's what they think looks impressive. And meanwhile, the best engineers, the senior cloud engineers who are actually getting hired, promoted, and paid the most are doing the exact opposite. They are stripping things back. They are choosing simplicity, and they're making decisions based on what the business actually needs, not what looks good on their resume. That difference in thinking is system design, and it's arguably the most valuable skill in all of cloud engineering. I'm Suleiman. I've been in tech for more than 11 years. From IT apprentice to running my own businesses across cloud and AI consulting, my software company StudyTech.ai, and my academy where I've helped more than 900 IT pros, engineers, and career switchers master cloud and land six-figure roles, including at companies like AWS. Now, in this video, I'm going to break down how the best cloud engineers actually think when they sit down in front of a real problem. This way of thinking and approaching problems separates the cloud engineers that get hired and promoted from those who are still stuck chasing certifications and Udemy courses. Let's get into it. So, firstly, what on earth is system design? You've probably heard of it before, and I know some people think that it's a little bit intimidating or maybe above their level, but it's really not. System design is the ability to take a real business problem and design a technical solution that works on the real world constraints. That is it. When you're learning cloud engineering and AWS, you learn individual services, what they do, how they work, what they are called. And that's fine as a starting point. But in a real job, nobody sits you down and asks you, what is this service? They just give you a problem and say, figure out how we should solve this. And suddenly, you're not picking one service of a massive list, right? You're deciding how 10 different pieces fit together. And every component that you choose affects the others. And in system design, the priorities that you're balancing are as follows. Scalability, which is whether your system can handle more users without breaking. Availability, which is whether it stays up and running when something breaks. Latency, which is how fast the system responds. Cost efficiency, which is whether the business can actually afford to run it. And security, which is who can access what. Now, there's obviously a couple more, but let's just focus on these. But these aren't separate topics that you should study one by one. They're almost like competing forces that you're balancing every time that you go design something. Make it faster, and it usually costs more money. Make it cheaper, and it might not be able to handle the load. Add more redundancy so it doesn't go down, and now it's more complex to maintain and even more expensive to run. You are constantly weighing these against each other, and the right balance is different for every company, every team, and budget. That is system design. Now, here is where it gets interesting, because what I'm about to tell you goes against everything that most people assume. The cloud engineers earning the most compensation are not building the most complex solutions that they can. They are deliberately keeping things as simple as possible. And they do that because they have learned something that most beginners haven't. Every piece of complexity that you add to a system is a cost that you pay forever. It's not a one-time thing. More parts mean more things break than normal. More for the next engineer that joins the team to learn before they can change anything. More surface area for security issues. Eventually, what you end up with is a system that's so tangled that nobody wants to touch it. And that system has a name. It's called legacy. And that's the exact thing that we are trying not to build. So the senior instinct isn't what's the most impressive architecture that I can design. It's actually what is the most simplest way to solve the actual problem in front of me right now. And that comes with a rule worth remembering. You design for the next stage, not for a fantasy that might never come. If you've got 100 users, users, design for 1,000. When you hit 1,000, then design for 10,000. You don't want to spend months architecting for millions of users that might never show up. Your architecture should be able to evolve. So you shouldn't tie things down completely, but you should always know that if things do change, how quickly can I redesign and re-architect or evolve my architecture for new business problems, new requirements, and new scale. And you'd be amazed how far a single well-sized architecture takes you, much further than beginners ever assume. You can do an enormous amount with very little if the thinking behind it is very solid. While it sounds like we are cutting corners here, it's actually the complete opposite, because software and infrastructure isn't something that you build once and walk away from. It evolves. It changes as the business changes. So designing something that works for right now, knowing you'll evolve it when the business actually needs more, that is not lazy. That's how the best engineers operate. They make continuous, deliberate investments as they grow, rather than trying to predict the future and then building for the problems they don't even have yet. Now, this one might surprise you, but there is no such thing as a good or bad architecture, not in the way that most people think about. There's only suitable or not suitable for what you're trying to do. And this nuance really matters, because if you think architectures are objectively good or bad, you'll spend your whole career chasing some correct way to build things that don't even exist. A quick, cheap, simple build might be exactly the right call when there's a hard deadline and a small team. A more complex setup with independent services and redundancy might be exactly right when the business has the scale and the team to justify it. Now, neither one is better in abstract, and I mean like in isolation, right? It completely depends on the constraints. And the cloud engineers who understand that are asking what the business actually needs and working backwards from that. And look, this is where a lot of cloud engineers fall into a trap, especially people who got into this industry because they genuinely love tech. When you came into this because coding or building infrastructure was a passion, there's a natural pull towards the craft of it, the elegance, the beauty of a well-structured system. And that is great. But when you're working professionally, you're not solving for aesthetics. You're solving a business problem. And sometimes solving the business problem means building something that's good enough. Not perfect, just good enough for today, with a clear path to evolve it tomorrow. And being okay with that, like genuinely okay with it, is senior level thinking. And in practical terms, that means every technical decision that you make should connect to the business. What does it cost? What are the risks if it fails? What revenue does it protect? How many people have to maintain it? If you can answer questions like this for every choice in your design, then you're already operating at a level that most people will never reach. Because very few can talk about why that technology matters to the company actually paying for it. And by the way, this is exactly the kind of thinking that we build inside of my Cloud Engineer Academy. If you're serious about landing a six-figure cloud role, then there's a link in the description below to book a call with my team. We are busier than ever right now because we are getting results virtually every single week. Cosmic got hired as a cloud engineer after 6 weeks with us. Matt went from IT help desk to systems engineer at AWS. Rob went from tech support to cloud infrastructure engineer in 7 weeks and also picked up a second offer at IBM. Salim just landed a cloud security engineer at American Express, earning just under $200K a year. Silas switched careers at 42 and now he's a platform engineer. We've got John, Eddie, Travon, Tomislav, Dominic, the list goes on, right? By the way, these were all people just like you watching my YouTube videos. They got my help and they're now in cloud roles. So if you're serious about making this move and you've been self-studying AWS and cloud engineering, but you haven't made the progress that you've wanted, then just simply book a call with my team, use the link below, and let's see if we can speed things up for you. Now, a lot of you watching this are worried about AI, and I want to address that directly. Think about what's getting automated right now. Writing code, deploying infrastructure, shipping features, the execution side of the job. That's the layer that AI is eating first, and it's only going to accelerate. So if your entire value as a cloud engineer sits at the execution layer, then yes, you should be concerned because you're competing directly with tools that can do the work faster and cheaper than you ever will. But here's what happens when the execution side of things gets automated. The responsibility will shift up. Someone still has to design what gets built, how it should be designed, what trade-offs are we making that make sense for the business, and what happens when something actually goes wrong. That's system design. And as AI takes more of the hands-on doing, the thinking becomes the job. So system design doesn't become less valuable in the AI world. It actually becomes the most valuable skill that you can have because it's the layer above what's being automated. And this is where your reasoning becomes super, super important. It becomes everything. AI can generate an architecture in seconds. It can suggest a design, write the code, give you a full setup, but the output is your starting point, not your finished product. And if you've missed that, go back and replay it. You add the value on top, and the value that you add is whether you can actually evaluate what it gave you. Does it make sense for this business, this budget, and this team? What did AI miss? Why does one approach work here and not the other? That's critical thinking. That's the part that matters. And that's the part that AI cannot do. And I'll tell you something. The people making real decisions at companies, the CTOs, the VPs, they may never actually question your specific technical choices because you are the expert. It is your domain, but they are incredibly good at spotting holes in your thinking. So you should sit in front of your screen, even stick the camera on so you can see yourself explaining your architectures. You can also ask AI to plug holes into what you've built and educate you on how your design may fail. So yes, use AI, use it heavily, but make sure the tool is working for you and not the other way around. Because if all you're doing is taking whatever it gives you, then you are on a very slippery slope. So why am I pushing this so hard right now? Because to me, there's a window filled with opportunity. Most people haven't adjusted. They're still grinding certs, still following tutorials, still buying Udemy courses, and still building skills that the market no longer values. And that means the people who build the right skill set are standing out more than ever right now. The judgment, the system design, the ability to reason through trade-offs and connect it to the business, those engineers are going to be in an incredibly strong position while everyone else is left competing with AI for the work that's already being automated. This is why my students are getting hired left, right, and center right now. Literally right now, the job market is hotter than ever. I don't care what your coworker told you, or what fear-mongering the headlines are telling you. I don't care if you think the job market is cooked or there's no job and AI is taking everything. I am seeing this from having boots on the ground. AI spending is creating unprecedented demand for talent, but you've probably not experienced hiring managers and recruiters calling you back because quite frankly, you don't even have the skills that they're looking for yet. And that's fine if you're just coasting, you are vibing, right? You're not even looking for a real cloud role. But if you're a tech right now and you're looking to break in and you're self-studying on the side, knowing that you want to make a switch, or you're already in tech and you're looking to get into cloud, you have to make sure you're building the skills the market is actually paying for right now. There's a big nuance there. And I see it with my students before they even get my help. They are deep in this self-studying route, doing a bit of Udemy here, a bit of huge tutorials there, and they are busy. They feel productive, but are not actually getting job ready. And what happens over time is the keeping busy part. All of that activity has actually become the very reason that they are stuck. It's replaced the original objective. Because think about it. When you first started, the goal was to get hired, but somewhere along the way, it became about finishing the next certification or completing the next course. And look, that's not getting you job ready. And if it is, then what's actually stopping you from going and applying for cloud roles right now? Can you see the disconnect here? You don't feel confident that you would land the role, but you're telling me that your approach is actually working. At some point, today, tomorrow, next year, is going to come to you. And you're going to look back and ask yourself, why was I doing the wrong things for so long instead of just focusing on building the skills that the market actually pays for? So if you want my help, check the link in the description below to book a call with my team. More than 900 people just like you have been watching my YouTube videos and made a decision and are now inside of my academy building the cloud skills that the market actually demands. As always, I'm rooting for you. Go and become undeniable.